Well, folks, it's time to sit up again for another episode of the Soul Sessions. But with me today, the wonderful warrior, maybe a bit of green with envy. Aluna, welcome to the show.
Hello.
My absolute pleasure here having you on the Soul Sessions. But Aluna, what I love to do with every guest, every guest has a story and every story has a beginning. I'd like to know, Aluna, how did your story begin as a wrestling fan?
Okay, so my kind of wrestling fan / wrestling trainee story is slightly less common to other people's because my kind of journey into wrestling wasn't based around WWE or watching wrestling as a kid. That's not something that happened with me. I never watched WWE as a child, and I've got a younger sister. So I didn't really have anybody kind of older than me to watch wrestling with, and it just wasn't on in my house. So my kind of journey into wrestling started when I was about 22, I'd say. So I was a bit later kind of getting into the world of wrestling. And it actually started through live UK indie shows. That was my first experience of wrestling. And one of my friends, he was really into wrestling and he watched WWE. And there was a show on at my local community centre. And he was like, oh, should we go and watch, this live wrestling show? And I was like, okay, let's go. I have no idea what this is going to be like, but, let's do it. I've never seen wrestling before. So I went to the live show in my local community centre, and I fell in love instantly, just like that. Just fell in love with it. The costumes and the characters and, the acrobatic moves, the way the crowd was reacting. And there was a women's match as well. And I was really naive. I was like, oh, women do this too. And it was brilliant. I loved it. And I spoke to the two girls. It was Dominita and Lady Chardonnay. I spoke to both of them after the show, and I was like, how do you get into this? Like, what do you need to do? I've got to give this a go. And they said, join your local wrestling training school. Again, didn't know that was a thing, had no idea. And yeah, it just sort of went from there, really. I left it kind of, I'd say probably 6 months after that show. Life just got in the way, really. But I still continued to sort of follow the UK independent circuit, and I went to multiple shows in that time. I did start watching WWE as well in that time. And I messaged Millie McKenzie and Candy Floss, and I said, look, what do I need to do? How do I get into it? And they said the same thing as the other two girls. They said, get yourself down to your local training school. And I did. And in August 2018, I went to my local training school and started to learn to wrestle.
A fascinating story nonetheless. It's kind of similar to mine. I didn't watch wrestling as a kid. I actually got into it through studying at university and having background noise when you're writing an essay at 2 a.m. So it is a way to start. But I think that's kind of fascinating about wrestling. There's so many entrant ways to it. You could be a local indie show. You could be a top 10 list on YouTube, or it could be from a childhood with one of these big companies. What is it about wrestling, do you think, so specifically, Aluna, that it has that massive gateway entrance for fans?
Oh, definitely. I think, like you said, everybody's got their slightly different way that they got into watching wrestling. And I think that because it is so accessible nowadays, you can watch it on so many different platforms. Obviously you can stream it on the internet, it's on the TV. There's all the computer games and things as well. I think it is so accessible nowadays. And I think for a lot of people, it is the kind of escape from, the real world. It's all the characters and, the costumes and the amazing, the moves, the storylines that go on, through the different shows and through the different characters. And I think that's really what draws a lot of people in, is this alternative, crazy world. But it's just so enjoyable.
It's really a continuous world that's always going with stories, battles between goods versus evils, and all the joys all around. But obviously, Larry, you did mention that you then decided to watch WWE.
Yeah.
Was there kind of like a shock about how grand the product was? Like big WWE, massive stages, arenas, pyro everywhere. Was it kind of a shock?
It was. Yeah, it was definitely. From going to watching a show in a community centre, to then obviously watching it on telly as WWE. There is a massive difference. Like you said, the pyro and the massive crowds, the sort of larger than life characters. But I think for me it was the same that love for it was still there, regardless of it being on the TV or being a live performance.
Mm-hmm. Of course, absolutely. And then obviously, coming back to home as well, the UK, and I know Wales as well.
Yes.
I've had so many people on from Wales, and I honestly just see the passion, the drive, the family environment as well from it, of just how many people get together and have fun. And I know you've learned from people as well. And I know Bronco you've learned from as well. And
yeah.
He's a great individual. I want to know, what's it like learning from him? Because I've seen so many people comment about him, so many passionate and great things about the man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I moved to the New Wave training school, so formerly Dragon Pro. I moved to the New Wave training school last year. And it's just been the best thing for kind of my confidence and my wrestling career in general. It's been amazing to be able to train under, Brendan White, Mike Hitchman, Danny Jones. We've got Danny Luna, who takes the women's classes. We've so many other top wrestlers in the UK come into New Wave to train us as well. And wrestling people like that and being able to train under people like that really does bring out the best in us. And we're very fortunate that every training session is different, because a different coach will take each session, and they sort of bring their own element to the class, which it's really good. And obviously Flash Morgan Webster's just opened New Wave West Midlands as well in Stoke. So we've got two options. We've got Newport and Stoke now. And all of the coaches are fantastic. I genuinely cannot speak any more highly of them.
Love to see it. Just that friendly family environment and just building everyone up. That's what I love to see within wrestling, of that community environment. But also, you go on and wrestle some opponents, some who've actually been on this show and who want to cover. The first one that you wrestled is Nightshade. You've faced her before in the past. What was it like facing Nightshade? So
Nightshade and I have wrestled a few times now. And she's always a very fearsome competitor. She's very much a world-traveled wrestler, and her heel work is absolutely excellent. She definitely knows how to get the crowd to boo her.
Very true indeed. And I want to know that work of being babyface and heel. Is it quite an easy thing to grasp as a wrestler, or do you think there takes some time to learn both sides of the wrestling style?
So for me personally, I have only ever worked babyface. That is just a decision that I made when I first started training. It was something that I wanted to go down the babyface route. However, in the last month or so, New Wave, which is my home promotion and where I train, have turned me heel. So I'm working heel for New Wave for the first time in my wrestling career, which is very exciting. I'm so excited to be able to bring out a new side to Aluna that for the past 2 years on the circuit, nobody's seen before, because to be honest, I haven't seen it yet. But it's going to be very exciting, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Hey, surprises all around. We never know. And I remember something that Chris Jericho said in the past in an interview, that when you're a face and a heel, they should be two different personalities, different entrance music, different mannerisms, maybe even different finishers and signature moves. Do you agree with that, Luna? Or do you think there should be like a blend between the two? Like there are some familiarities with being good and bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm certainly not going to disagree with Chris Jericho. I do think that I think largely there should be a difference. I think the fans should be able to kind of tell the difference between, for me, the Aluna that walks through the crowd as a babyface, and then the Aluna that walks through the crowd and works through the curtain as a heel. I think a lot of my moveset will probably stay the same. I am going to try and come up with some surprise new moves that people haven't seen me do before. But I think in terms of personality, the crowd should be able to see the difference between the heel side and the babyface side.
Very good point all around as well. And now another guest you faced in the past, Ronnie Knocks, who's now an inaugural champions as well. What's it like facing her in her toolbox?
So Ronnie Knocks, the wrestling engineer, we have worked a few times now, and we're actually wrestling again this weekend for UBW. And that woman can tie you in knots. It is ridiculous. Like, her technical ability. She's put me in kind of submissions and things before, and I'm like, how am I even supposed to get out of this? Like, what have you done?
Oh, crafty indeed. You never know what you're going to get. And, submissions and all that, kind of like another style of wrestling. You've got the British strong, Japanese strong, lucha, and all these creative styles, are they quite easy to pick up and learn, or do you feel like you have to adapt to one style first, then move on?
Mm-hmm. So I think when you're first starting out as a trainee wrestler, I think unless you have perhaps a martial arts background or kind of an acrobatics background, it's probably wise to go for a kind of all-around approach. When you first start wrestling, you don't know, how the finished product is going to end up. We're always learning all the time. We're always kind of evolving and changing our styles to suit the match that we're going to be in. And you've kind of got to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And, I don't think that there's many people who've gone down one specific route and stuck with it their entire career. They've probably made a real conscious effort to hone the kind of skills and their craft in a particular style, but that may not have been the style that they started out with. So I think anybody that's learning to wrestle, to get, basic fundamentals and do the fundamentals really, really well, is going to set you apart, definitely. And then you can branch out and start to, depending on who your coaches are as well, they might be able to show you different techniques and different styles. But once you've got the fundamentals down, it's much easier to then find a kind of style or route that you'd like to go down.
Very true indeed. And it's always great to learn as well. And, I feel like as well with the UK, we have such an identity of like the strong style, the hard hitting and everything. Do you feel like that's a great part of the British wrestling identity, the strong style we have?
Yeah, I think the British wrestling scene is, it is one of a kind. And we're very lucky with the UK circuit that we have so many different styles on the circuit, so many different wrestlers, that do they have lots of different abilities. But British strong style, I think, will always be, what British wrestling is known for, is the hard hitting style of wrestling.
Very true indeed. Now, another person you face, she's not a previous guest of the show, but she's the host of her own show, a special Nina Samuels show. Yeah. And I want to know, I've seen Nina wrestle once at Rhio Cabaret, and it's such energetic and passionate. What was it like wrestling against Nina?
Oh, Nina is one of my favourite wrestlers to be in the ring with. I'm very fortunate that I've wrestled her twice now, once in singles and then once in a multi-person match. And I have her again coming up for Ignite in November, and I'm very, very excited to run that singles match back. I always learn so much from wrestling Nina. Like, she's an excellent heel. She really knows how to make the crowd dislike her. But I absolutely adore Nina, and I'm very, very excited to get in the ring with her again.
Very good indeed. And obviously that means like you've just shown that you've branched out, gone to all these different promotions and put your name out there. And I've had people come on the show, and when they train and then they know they have to make out on their own and go and find bookings and find places to go wrestle. For yourself, Luna, what was that challenge like for you?
I think for me, I've been extremely fortunate. In the last 22 months that I've been out on the circuit, I worked out the other day, I think I've worked for about 35 different promotions, which has been very busy. It's been busier than I ever thought I could be, it's been genuinely incredible, and I'm so grateful for every single promotion that's given me a chance. Naturally there are fewer female wrestlers than male wrestlers, and there's kind of less spots on the card for women on most shows, not on all shows, but on most shows. So for me, it's just been a case of reaching out to as many promotions as I can, kind of graft in to get the bookings. That's really important. Not necessarily relying on promoters to come to you, because that doesn't always happen. If you want the work, you've got to go out and get it. And crewing, I think, is a massive part of kind of being recognized for putting that hard work in. If you want to work somewhere, instead of just going in straight away and saying, can I have a booking for you? Offer to crew, offer to help out at their show, and show that you're really keen to work for that promotion in any capacity, whether that's a wrestler, whether that's ring crew, whether that's selling merch, selling raffle tickets. Just show that you're keen to be around the promotion, not just wrestling for them, but in any capacity that they need on the show.
Absolutely. And especially with women wrestling here in the UK, it's it's very thriving as well. You know, I think of one promotion as well, Pro Wrestling Eve.
Yes.
They've done so many great things as well. And as a female wrestler, then I want to know, what does it mean to have like a promotion so dedicated on like you guys and showcasing you guys to like fans across the world?
Oh, it's fantastic to have, you know, a specific promotion that focuses on female wrestling. Is amazing. You know, when I first started to learn to wrestle, I was the only female at my training school, and that was the case for, you know, a good few years. And I think to have a lot more promotions now who have training schools that are running women's only sessions, it definitely helps to kind of get female wrestlers who maybe aren't out on the circuit yet and are just starting their wrestling career to meet other female wrestlers and kind of share, you know, tips and experiences. When I was first starting to learn to wrestle, Dragon Pro did a kind of female only class. And I only had, you know, it was just me at my original training school. So I walked into the class at Dragon Pro and there was like 20 other girls in there. And I was like, wow, you do exist. Amazing. So we're very fortunate at New Wave that we have a women's class run by Wild Boar and Danny Luna. And, you know, each week we do it. We have maybe 10 women turn up, which is fantastic. And it's a real safe space for girls who, you know, want to learn to wrestle. Maybe, you know, are a little bit nervous to do it in the main classes or just prefer to wrestle in the female classes. So it's really good to have that, you know, the dedicated promotions like Eve, but also the dedicated training classes as well.
Great to see. And it was always great to just see women wrestling thriving and being showcased, because it can be, you know, a main event or a sellout show, because, you know, women wrestlers absolutely kick ass. I've seen it. Oh, scary sometimes. But I know another guest you're going to be facing in the future, Tilly Rose, you know, who we've had on, and she's so passionate and driven to go. I mean, facing someone like Tilly, who's so young but still doing so many great things, what's that like?
For me, it's really exciting. Tilly and I trained together at New Wave. And, you know, I was there when Tilly started some of her first classes with us. So to see that progression is so exciting. And like you said, she's so young as well. She's got, you know, a whole wrestling career ahead of her. And that's really, really exciting. And I'm very excited to be able to get in the ring with her and kind of see that passionate side for myself. We have tagged together in the past, but we've never had a singles match. So yeah, this is going to be really good fun.
Oh, surprises all around. We never know what could happen in the squared circle. But another company that you've wrestled for, that I've had many guests say, well, I want to wrestle there in the future. I want to get to that place. You've actually wrestled for Rev Pro as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you feel like that's like oh my God, I've actually wrestled on Rev Pro? People like Will Ospreay, Alex Windsor, they've been on that kind of show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was quite surreal. It was Brendan who very kindly told me that, you know, I'd received the booking. I think I swore at him down the phone because I didn't believe him. I was gobsmacked. I really couldn't believe it. It was, it was a very surreal moment. And I'm still very new in my wrestling career. I did 100 matches last weekend. So I'm still very, very new to wrestling. But to have a match for Rev Pro kind of this early on in my career, and to wrestle Maya Matthews as well was amazing. It was definitely a step up for me in terms of the promotions that I'd worked for previously. So yeah, the pressure was definitely on. It was nerve-wracking to kind of walk through, you know, the same curtains that, like you said, you know, Will Ospreay and other people have worked through. Has been, it was quite scary, but I'm so pleased that I did it. It was such an incredible experience.
And that's the thing as well. Like, even wrestling for these big companies, you know, whether you win or lose, it's an experience at the end of the day, and you can learn so much. So I would like to know, you like, from wrestling with Rev Pro, what was something you learned spending the time in that kind of ring?
I think for me, in terms of something that I learned, is crowd reactions are, you know, so important. I think sometimes you can get very focused on the match, and it can be kind of quite nerve-wracking when you're in there and your music hits and that's it. Then there's nothing else you can do, and you've got to go through the curtain because the crowd are expecting you. And just to take that moment to soak it in. I remember standing on the ramp, and I kind of had this kind of pinch me moment, like I am stood at the entrance curtain for Rev Pro. It was slightly mad, but yeah, taking that time to just kind of soak up the crowd reaction, and in the match as well, making time to get the crowd involved, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that have paid to see the show, and they're the ones that we want to involve as much as possible in the matches.
Hey, truly special as well. And you mentioned, the crowd work as well. And, this running season of the Soul Session has been like the idea of ring psychology. Is it a lost art? Is it, making a resurgence? And I think it is so important to the wrestling business, because yes, you get hit, a 450 splash, but is there a meaning behind the move? Is there a story with it? Is it like this one move that this wrestler has never kicked out of before? And is this the moment where they will lose or be defeated and lose the championship?
Yeah.
So I want to know, Aluna, learning ring psychology, it's got to be like the main tool of every wrestling's arsenal, right?
Definitely. I think in terms of, things that trainee wrestlers should learn and should be able to do, like I said earlier, is fundamentals, 100%. Having the best ring conditioning that you can have, having decent cardio will absolutely help you no end. Like, I'm speaking from experience. Unfortunately, I had long COVID, and it really messed up my cardio. And people that have been in the ring with me before know that, the first sort of few months after having that was a bit of a nightmare. It was really, really hard. So to have, the ring cardio is super important, but also to have the psychology behind, why you're doing a specific move, why you're running a specific sequence, why you're reacting in a certain way. I think it's really important, because again, it gets the crowd more involved, more invested in the match, and at the end of the day, that's why we do it, is to get the crowd as invested in the match as we possibly can, especially if there's a storyline going on in between matches or in between shows. It's super important to get the crowd kind of involved and invested as much as we can. And I think ring psychology is 100% going to help with that.
Absolutely. So I know you mentioned recently, your 100 matches. First off, congratulations on that achievement. Thing. But I can imagine one of those matches that must be special to you is against Dani Luna at New Wave. Because Dani Luna is a hell of a talent. I've seen her wrestle, like, my God, just absolutely sensational. But I want to know, facing Dani, obviously at New Wave, such a special place to you. That's got to be on the top tier for you, right?
Oh, absolutely. So being able to wrestle Dani, who is one of my coaches, was incredible. And to be able to do it for New Wave as well. That was my first match I had for New Wave, which obviously became my new home promotion, was amazing. And that match taught me so much. Dani and I have stepped in the ring a couple of times since. And, every time I wrestle her, I learn something new. She is genuinely an incredible talent. And we're very, very lucky to have somebody like her on the circuit.
Yeah, truly successful to see as well, and just great, joyful to see as well. But obviously, another part of the whole session I love is when I have guests on and I get to see like the promo images, like, oh wow, you've taken this, you put some work to it. But there's an interesting one on your Instagram I saw where it was you with like blue powder coming across you and everything, and I was so taken aback, like, wow, that is striking. What was the mindset going into making that kind of images?
So I was very fortunate to have the chance to go to the Musselwhite Studios, James Musselwhite, in Portsmouth. And when we were talking about kind of ideas for the photo shoot, at the time I was still kind of using the name Aluna Blue, and I still do at some promotions. Most places I'm Aluna now, just Aluna, but at the time I was kind of still using Aluna Blue everywhere. So he was like, right, let's come up with an idea, based around the color blue. And I was like, yeah, okay, brilliant, that works. And anybody that knows me, knows that I absolutely love my wrestling gear. I do have quite a few different sets now, and I bought a specific set for this photo shoot. And to be able to have a shoot at Musselwhite was incredible to start with. Like, it was an opportunity that I will never, ever forget. But when he said about using the powder, I was like, yeah, do you know what? I've never done this before. Let's give it a go. And the photos, they just turned out like they were stunning. They were absolutely beautiful. I didn't realize it was me like when, even though he was taking the pictures of me, when he was showing me the photos back, I was like, that's not me. Surely that's not me. I don't look like that. I'm, you know, I do struggle in front of a camera. Like I've always, when people are taking photos with me, it does take me a while to kind of get in the groove of doing all the posing and things. But they were great. They made me feel so comfortable and so relaxed. And it took me about a week to get that blue powder out of my hair.
Oh, I couldn't imagine it'd be up there with like Jajiri's mist or something like that. Of like, yeah, I'm gonna have to shave this whole thing off.
Yeah.
We're abandoning shit right here. But I mean, they also must make amazing 8x10s as well for like selling for fans, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm very lucky that they do sell very nicely, which is good, and I've got quite a few different ones that I was able to take away from the shoot. So yeah, I'm very lucky that they do sell quite nicely.
Perfect indeed. But obviously, you know, Aluna, I should have started this interview probably because I know you are a champion. You hold gold or a belt around your waist. You know, I believe it's the I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to have to see my eyesight's working here. The future-proof champion, if I'm correct.
That's the one. Yes.
Bingo. So I want to know the story of winning that championship.
So the Future Proof title was a new championship for United Wrestling, who are based in Oxford, which is about an hour away from where I live in Cheltenham. And they have the coolest venue. It's in a brewery, and it's a really, really funky, kind of cool indie venue. And they did a tournament for the Future Proof title, which I won, and it was very unexpected. It was my first main show title win, and I say the only belt I've got at the moment, which is super exciting. To be able to hold that belt for them is a real privilege for me, and to beat kind of 3 other people as well to win the belt was. It was challenging, don't get me wrong. It was definitely challenging, but yeah, that belt, it means everything to me, and it to show a promotion that, you know, I can really be a fighting champion. I've defended that title quite a few times now, and it's been amazing to wrestle people that haven't worked with before, and defend the belt an hour away from my house is fantastic.
Wow, easy indeed. I mean, I look at that belt, and the first thing that comes to mind is that must be heavy, right? In a case or a bag carrying on. Jesus, massive.
It is a huge belt. And we're very lucky at United that it's one of the promotions where none of the belts are specifically gendered. So anybody can go for any of the belts, which is fantastic. I've had, you know, both male and female opponents there, and yeah, it's really good that anybody of any gender has the opportunity to go for the titles there.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's very interesting because I had 2 wrestlers in the past. You know, Lexi Kimber was a trans wrestler up in Scotland, talked about bringing in intergender titles more in the big companies. And I've had previous guests as well mention, you know, class weight, you know, division for wrestling belts. Do you think maybe that could be the future, especially with, you know, the TKO group of UFC and WWE merging? I think
having, so someone who I'm very lucky, I'm able to do a lot of intergender wrestling. So when I first started, intergender wrestling was all I knew. I didn't know any different. I think I had about 6 months of intergender wrestling before I actually wrestled another female, who was LA Taylor. She was my first female opponent. And I think I love intergender wrestling. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's just a style of wrestling that I prefer personally. So I am definitely an advocate for having, I guess, genderless belts that, you know, anybody can win. I do completely understand why promotions like to have, you know, separate male and female belts and, you know, separate, I guess, weight class belts. But I think a lot of promotions now are going down the route of, intergender style titles.
No, it's great to see because at the end of the day, you know, we're all well, you guys are all wrestlers, you know, you're all fighting for this passion as well. And I remember, you know, back in the day, I had Eric Schultz, who's a Chicago-based wrestler, and he wrestled Sky Blue, who's with AEW, in a match. But he kind of got some flack of it from internet fans, you know, saying, "Oh, intergender wrestling, it's not right," or something. And I don't know why they have this mindset because, you know, it's just it's a matchup and having fun, and you guys, you know, you're safe in the ring, you have fun, and you're having these fun matches. Why do you think wrestling fans kind of have this hesitation towards intergender wrestling?
So I have seen it, unfortunately. I've been very fortunate that matches, as far as I'm aware, that I've been in, I've never had any problems with. I have seen it on shows where there have been intergender matches that the crowd haven't particularly liked. Whether it's because, they're, I guess, the kind of traditional values of wrestling where, men and women shouldn't be in the same match. And that's completely fair enough. There are going to be people who have those views. But I think there is more of the view now that wrestlers are wrestlers, regardless of their gender, providing everybody's safe, providing everybody, knows, kind of the moves that they're going to be taking and things like that. And everybody's respectful to each other. I think that's definitely the main thing.
Oh, absolutely as well. And I mean, I think of, in Rhio Cabaret, they have Session Moth Martina and Charles Crowley as their tag champions. And when they make their entrance, the crowd's up and dancing, having fun and enjoyable. So, IWC, Internet Wrestling Community, calm down, have a chill pill, have a sparkling water, relax. Everything's okay. Calm down. All right. We're moving on. Things are fine. But also, I know in the intergender match.
Sorry. I was going to say, there's lots of people who, if, say, for example, if I have an intergender wrestling match, both people have to agree to that match. We're not being forced to do it. Chances are we both really want to do it. So, we have agreed the intergender match that is, the fans are seeing. Both wrestlers have agreed to it.
Hey, fans, you've heard it from the primary source yourself.
There you go.
And I want to talk about one of those intergender matches. It was against Conor Mills at New Wave. Hell of a guy in himself. But there was a moment I saw on the Instagram afterwards where you came back and you came down, like you seemed to like clap under the enjoyment of the pressure, and just the locker room were clapping and give you celebration. What was it specifically about that moment that made you just have that wee moment? What was it about?
So the match I had with Conor Mills was technically my best wrestling match I've had so far. Conor is one of the best competitors in the UK, without doubt. He is genuinely incredible. And to have the standing ovation at the end of the show, which again, absolutely did not expect. And for him to shake my hand at the end of the match, again, didn't expect at all. It was such a surprise. And then I go backstage and, all of my coaches and, all of my peers backstage are all clapping. I did actually fall down the stairs. It was, I tried to make it look like it was like a collapse of, this is amazing. Actually, no, I just tripped down the stairs. I just forgot there was like 4 stairs instead of 3. And I ended up on my knees at the bottom of the stairs. But, to have that moment of everybody, kind of cheering me on, and people in that locker room that I've known for years and since I started wrestling, was really a special moment, because things like that don't happen very often, certainly not. So to be able to have that moment of, it was just pure happiness and it was genuine emotion, to get a standing ovation from the crowd and from the wrestlers in the backstage area was fantastic.
Hey, well deserved, Aluna. Honestly, well deserved. It's passionate to see, and obviously the Welsh wrestling scene is thriving, and so many great individuals within it as well. I like to propose a little, question to you, Aluna. The Mount Rushmore. People like to say the 4 pillars. Who do you think are the 4 pillars of Welsh wrestling?
Oh, okay. So I think for me, the first person I'm going to say is Mark Andrews. He is absolutely just the nicest dude you will ever meet. Like, he is amazing. He is one of the kindest people I've ever met. Secondly, it's got to be Bronco. He's been one of those people that has been, by my side throughout the whole of my wrestling journey. So Brendan White is definitely going to be up there. I'm going to say Danny Luna, because I'm very lucky that she is, one of my coaches for the women's class, and somebody that I, massively look up to. And, she's just incredible. And then the other person has got to be Wild Boar, Mike Hitchman. Again, he's been, incredible in my kind of training in the past year and a bit. And yeah, without kind of the coaches at New Wave, I definitely wouldn't be, you know, the wrestler that I'm starting to become now. So yeah, those are my four pillars.
Plenty good names all around. But obviously mentioning Wild Boar there, who I've had on the show. You know, I had Wild Boar like maybe a week or two after he got released from NXT UK. And what he's done specifically for Wales, I mean, it's extraordinary what he's done. You know, so many uplifting, great matches and everything. What do you think Wild Boar means to the Welsh wrestling scene?
He's everything to the Welsh wrestling scene. Like, I don't think the Welsh scene, it wouldn't be the same without him. You know, he's 100% part of it, and we're so lucky that he's now able to kind of pass on his knowledge and his experience as part of the New Wave coaching team. And you know, we get to learn from him every single week. It's awesome, and he's such a nice guy, and someone that, you know, you can always go to for kind of help and guidance, and yeah, he'll be there 100%.
Exceptional. And I think it just shows as well, with the building of our scene, the big companies are coming over, you know, WWE with Money in the Bank, Clash of the Castle, AEW with All In, but especially with Impact, you know, they had a UK tour, but they also had the gut check.
Yes.
You know, Glasgow, one down south as well. I want to know, as a UK-based wrestler, you must take a sense of pride knowing that Impact are coming over and being like, we want you guys to come and try out and then work for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. The fact that, you know, the bigger companies that come into the UK and they're wanting to see what the UK wrestling scene has to offer. It's fantastic, and it's so exciting for everybody involved and everybody that's going to be involved. It's a super exciting time for British wrestling at the moment.
Absolutely, and especially, you know, WWE, when they're here for Money in the Bank, they did a wee little tease that they like to do WrestleMania in the UK. Now, as a Scotsman, I want it up here in Scotland. I don't like to travel 8 hours down south. I just want a nice wee walk, 15 minutes, easy. But I will say, though, a stadium that I think is very special, the Clash of the Castle Stadium, Principality.
Yeah.
I think they could hold a WrestleMania. Do you think, Aluna?
Oh, I think so. To have WrestleMania in Wales would be insane. It would be so cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to Clash of the Castle. I was booked on a show. And to be honest, I think I was probably one of the only wrestlers kind of who were on, you know, who was on a show, because everybody I know was at that show. And you know I missed such an incredible show. It was amazing. Everybody that I spoke to, and you know, I saw it all over social media. It was amazing, and it looked like a fantastic show. So yeah, if WrestleMania was ever to come to the UK, that would be my pick for a venue, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, Clash of the Castle was amazing, despite Drew losing, because you can't seem the Scottish can't catch a break. I mean, come on, please, just give us the one. I'm just one. Just the one, please. You even give us a Money in the Bank or Royal Rumble in Meadowfield Stadium. Just give us something, please. I want a win. I want a win for once. But the English, they get a bit of a win, you know, because they're having AEW come back next year for All In, Wembley Stadium. Whew, it's going to be exceptional. I mean, I was there at the last All In in Wembley, and my God, that was beautiful. Brings a tear to my eyes just thinking about it. Amazing. But I want to know as well, with All In too, Aluna, if they had a UK showcase battle royale, 10 men, 10 women, and you got to be a part of the women battle royale, what other women-based UK wrestlers would you like to see involved with that?
Oh, so there are a couple of people who I haven't worked yet, and people that I'd really, really like to work. And two of those women would be Kanji and Emerson Jane. I would absolutely love to be able to step in the ring with either of those two. So absolutely, those two would be my pick to be in that match with.
Oh, that would be exceptional. Hey, screw it, Tony Khan. Make that main event worthy now. That's getting right up there. Sorry, Brian Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, you're being bumped off the card. You can stay here. Have their fun there with the Magician Man. But obviously, the whole UK as well, up in Scotland, you know, we're killing it with our scene. Ireland, Northern Ireland, OTP, killing it. London, Rev Pro, Progress. Everywhere's thriving. Yeah. But obviously, we have some beautiful belts, you know, especially the women belts. They're absolutely exceptional. I want to know, Aluna, if you could have any women belt based on design over your shoulder, which one and why?
Oh, I think because the belt is so beautiful, it would have to be the Progress women's belt. It is stunning. Like, it's a stunning belt. And obviously, you know, we've had the reign of the Queen of Mean, Lana Austin, for, you know, many, many months. And And now we've got Rhio as the women's champion at Progress. And I've followed Progress for a really long time. It's one of the shows that, personally I really enjoy watching. So I'm very lucky to be able to wrestle Rhio at No Mercy. So to see Rhio win the women's title for Progress, it made me very happy.
Really, he was obviously a previous guest of the show as well when she's ICW Women's Champion, now Progress Women's Champion. I mean, she did say when she was on the show that she'll happily put the ICW Women's Champion against any previous guest. Now, Aluna, you are a guest. Maybe it's time to cash in that offer.
There you go. I'd love that. Let's go.
Ooh, that is ICW Fear and Loathing 9 main event right there. But obviously, another company you did mention, the Progress. And I had Lee McAteer, who's the Conor of Progress, on the show. Yeah. And he talked about this sense of pride that he feels in wrestlers wanting to come work for Progress. So I want to know from Luna, why is it Progress? Is it just the history? Is it the matches? Is it the opportunities? Why is it that Progress seems like a dream destination for people?
I think Progress is a historic promotion in terms of the incredible matches that they've put on. There's not many places that have put on the incredible selection of matches that Progress have. So there's definitely history there. And I think the opportunities that they offer to people who, are maybe slightly more up and coming, to be able to work, incredible stars is something that is absolutely appealing. To be able to work people that you may not necessarily be able to work on the circuit normally. And the crowds at Progress are amazing. I've been very fortunate to crew a couple of Progress shows, and yeah, the crowd are bonkers, but in the best possible way. Like, they just love their wrestling so much.
I've seen some online and I think, oh, I could happily go down there, but if it's $10.50 a pint, I think I'll stay up here for a wee bit longer.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that all-in weekend was not kind to my bank account. I'm pretty sure my bank's now watching me constantly. Bad times indeed. But obviously, Aluna, I want to finish up here with 2 questions now, and they're kind of like the dream question. Let's say WrestleMania comes to the UK and we did get into Principality. What would you like to see as the main event of WrestleMania in the UK?
I think it's got to, for me, it's got to be a women's match. I'd love a women's match to be the main event. And there are so many women who have worked, they've worked their asses off this last year. So I would love to see, 2 UK-based female wrestlers as the main event, or even one of them against one of the, the main WWE female stars would just be amazing. Just to have a UK female wrestler involved in the main event would be awesome.
Wow, be stunning. Hey, Aluna versus Becky Lynch.
Hey.
That would be a banger indeed. And now, Aluna, the final question. Let's say 10 years down the line, you're a women's champion in WWE or AEW or Impact, and say you're having a match against a young star, and after the match, they come to you and say, Aluna, I got into the business because I watched you as a kid, and you inspired me. Would that be like the ultimate achievement for you as a wrestler, to hear that from a young wrestler?
Oh, 100%. So it's not quite on the same scale as WWE, but I'm so excited that in December I've been asked to be a young female trainee. I've been asked to be her first opponent in her first ever wrestling match, and I was asked by her head coach to do that. And for me, that is so exciting because somebody had my first match. So to be able to have somebody else's first match it's just amazing, and it's really, really rewarding. And to think that, I was her once, I was having my first match. So to be able to pay that back to the wrestling community and to a young female trainee is going to be so exciting. I can't wait for that match.
Truly wholesome, because it just shows, the wrestling, we've always got to keep forward and building for the next generation to enjoy this business that we love. Well, Luna, thank you very much for appearing here on the Soul Sessions. But obviously what I love to do as well, every guest that come on and they've loved what they heard of you and we'll see you in the ring, what kind of dates have you got lined up for the future?
So I'm very fortunate that I have a date every single weekend until the end of the year. So Saturday, I'm fully booked. I work full time as well. So I now don't have a day off until the 17th of December, which is slightly terrifying, but it's in the best possible way. I am so grateful for to be able to wrestle Saturday and Sunday every weekend, And all of my upcoming shows will be on my social media. If you follow me on social media on Instagram or Facebook, there'll be details for all of my upcoming shows if anybody would like to come and see me wrestle.
Excellent. And I know fans in our modern day and age, you want your delivery in Prime, you want your delivery because you can't bother cooking, or
Yeah.
you want to upgrade your internet speed because you can't just wait for that episode of Pride and Prejudice to download, and you want it now. I mean, hey, fair dues. So I will be including a link to Luna's Instagram in the description of this video. You can click it and follow her journey and go see a show and see her kick some ass.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Aluna. Well, thank you, folks, for tuning in here for another episode of the Soul Sessions. I would do the whole YouTube shtick, but it's been around since 2005. You know what's going on. I ain't going to repeat myself anymore. But hey, thank you, everyone.